Alrighty, welcome back, everybody. We have a change up a little bit here. Alyam and Alse has been moved to a different speed gaming channel. Meanwhile, we have Chexhuman versus Muffins. So here we are back again in the Hybrid Major Glitches tournament. This is game 2 between these two. Chexhuman did win game 1. And the outcome of this race will determine whether or not there is a game 3 that is scheduled to happen tomorrow. So, we will shortly be underway here as soon as our timer finishes counting down. But for those of you who are new to this broadcast, this is the Hybrid Major Glitches tournament. Hybrid Major Glitches is a special logic mode that combines aspects of overworld glitches and major glitches, but doesn't require everything out of major glitches. Specifically, we require some underworld clipping, but we do not require fake fluting or mirror wraps. And we're off. Chexhuman starting off with Sanctuary, rather than going for the Lynx house into either Hylia Island, or Hobo, or Saha Closet. I know that Chexhuman likes to start off with a Graveyard Rush, which is clipping up the mountain to get to the Graveyard Ledge, which has a bunch of bombs. Looks like there is nothing of importance on the Lake Hylia Island, but we did find the Cape in Link's house. Cape could potentially be required as access into Aga's Tower. In fact, the last race that I was commentating had Pearl on Lumberjack, which is certainly something that can happen here. Nobody likes to see it, though. Getting a little bit of magic from the tree poles. As Muffin finishes out the back of Saha's Closet, not finding really anything of importance, but we do have both of our invulnerability items this early on into the seed. Doesn't really signal much, so don't get your hopes up off of that. It is good to have the Cane of Byrne because that is a potential source of damage other than bombs. Muffin's taking some care to kill a few enemies on the way to set up future tree poles. And we've got small magics off the bush crab, too, so Chex is able to get up to a full bar of magic, which is very nice to have with that Cane of Byrne. We get a map check out of Muffins. I saw a red crystal on Desert and a green pendant on Eastern. Meanwhile, Chexhuman does his own map check and finds the same information. There's our first sword within the Lost Woods cave. Sword makes a lot of clips much easier to tolerate. I don't... There are a couple of clips, I think, that require... Actually, I don't know if there are any clips that actually require spin speed, but having the boots clips, or having that available, does make a few of them much easier to do. So Chex is going to take that sword and head up the mountain. Or, no, he armed a water walk off the Lost Woods ledge and is heading over toward the Ice Rod area. He's going to check out, I guess, the Hylia Island. And is heading straight over to Waterfall, leaving the Hobo alone for now. Muffins picks up the sword in Lost Woods Cave. Has some bombs, which were found. And those bombs could be a good way of getting into Kakariko through all those bombed walls. We find a bottle in the Waterfall Ferry and fill it up with some green potion. Now, Chex doesn't have enough money to pay off Zora here, but he can check out the Zora Ledge item. It is 300, which is nice to have, but once you get that item, you are stuck there. We are seeing a Zora DMA out of Chexhuman here. Interesting little clip there, using the water splash out to get onto the correct pixel for an upward teleport. We find a shovel in Blind's hut and a lamp. Chexhuman uses that Zora DMA to go into Spiral Cave. An interesting routing choice. Muffins continues to go through the Kakariko checks. Has enough bombs to clear out all of these bombable walls, but doesn't really have a lot in terms of weapon. Muffins does have the sword. So I guess weaponry isn't going to be that much of an issue. Finds the Moon Pearl in Kakariko well. So Moon Pearl, Lamp, Sword. Certainly more than enough things to go defeat Desert Palace, which should be next on Muffin's radar after clearing out most of Kakariko. Meanwhile, Chexhuman finishing out the Paradox Cave. Getting some more bombs. And a little bit more health. But unfortunately, not much else. So no bottle found in Kakariko means that Muffins may need to return to check out the Sick Kid item. We do know that a bottle is on that Waterfall Ferry. But we do find a glove in the library. Could change up a few routing plans over in this desert area. Looks like Muffins is going to take that to heart. Not quite yet. Going to check out Race Game. We can get this item without going through the race game itself. But it looks like we're heading straight to Desert from here. And we'll check Checkerboard Cave afterward. Meanwhile, checks being done with the east side of Death Mountain is heading into Tower of Hera, which is a crystal this time around. We find our big key early on in Hera, which means we are currently not Mire-locked, which is one of those weird quirks that we get for hybrid major glitches with the way the logic is set up. Unfortunately, still a bit short on items in Desert. Still need to clear out more of it. As well as more of Hera here. We find the small key, which could be used for future swamp dips. Muffins does find some bombs within Desert, which is very helpful. Those bombs will be helpful for Agina specifically, as that's nearby. And there aren't really good places to farm any. That's very fortunate. Chexhuman heading up to Moldorm. Gets middle hold right away. Oh no. And down to 1 heart too. Muffins finds the second item out of Desert, so Lanmola isn't necessarily required to be beaten yet. Will be needed to be beaten before the end of the seed, but that can be put off until later. Chexhuman going for the rematch versus Moldorm here. Muffin's getting a bit of a glitchy screen by, ooh. Oh. A little bit of weird, collision stuff happening there for Muffins. Was able to get out of it. Was actually very close to getting stuck, I think, but was able to do the correct inputs to kick out of the slope to continue onward. Taking that shovel up to the grove. Oddly, is going to save and quit. I don't believe we saw Checkerboard Cave or Agina. It definitely could have gone for Lanmo, so I'm a little perplexed as to that save and quit. Very sure that's not faster than just walking out of the grove, and is likely going back to finish out those locations. Meanwhile, after finishing off Hera, Chexhuman goes to rescue the old man. Technically out of logic for him, since he doesn't have the lamp, which is found in Kakariko, but is a simple enough dark room that he can do it with just the boots. Find a second sword off the old man, which is all we need in order to defeat the game. Would be certainly nice to find another one somewhere along the line, but not entirely necessary yet. So while I said that Chexhuman likes to do a graveyard rush, this graveyard is a bit later than normal for him, because he decided to go through the Zora, over to East Death Mountain, over to Tower of Hera. Still fairly early, though, at 10 minutes in. Additionally, because of clipping off the mountain in that fashion, we do get a free Houlihan by falling into this hole by the graveyard. And Muffins opts not to kill Lanmo yet and is heading towards South Shore. But is instead going to turn in that mushroom over to the witch's hut. Next, Chexhuman going over toward the deserts and Kakariko area, clearing them from the bottom up. And Muffins opting to reset to hold on to that mushroom, possibly for a later fake powder use. And maybe now we'll be heading toward the South Shore. Chexhuman gets the glove on the library. He's going to clear out the rest of Kakariko before heading back down toward the desert area and finishing that off. I assume he will, considering he does have the Master Sword, as well as we'll be finding the lamp, which is all he needs to defeat the dungeon. Technically doesn't even need the gloves, but it certainly is a way to push him in that direction. Here's that sick kid that I don't believe Muffins was able to check earlier. It's just a piece of heart. And Muffins rushes over towards the mini Moldorm cave. Not quite enough money for Muffins to pay off Zora, but now opening that 300 certainly has enough. Will very likely head to the Ice Rod Cave, then down towards Zora area. Finds the hook shot in Mini Moldorm Cave. It tends to like to be there, from what I've noticed. It's a very common place for the hook shot to be, it seems. But that's just personal bias and anecdotal. Nothing concrete. All right, so Chex does get that Moon Pearl out of Kakariko Well. We'll be finding the lamp down in Blind's hut, which will probably push him down towards Desert. Muffins arming the Water Walk by dashing out of the Ice Rod Cave next to the pit. Now, we did already see what the Waterfall and Zora ledges have, but we have not seen what King Zora has. So this is a new item to find for Muffins here that Chex will have to somehow route in later if it is important. All right, King Zora has for us today just some red rupees. So Muffins is done with that particular leg of the opening routes. We'll possibly take these gloves to the back of Escape, or we'll take them all up towards the Death Mountain to start clearing out that area. Looks like we're headed up the mountain. Ooh, Muffins gets a bit of a bad jump. And has to correct the camera before proceeding here. Still hops around the rock because lifting up the rock is slow. Nice recovery from Muffins on that. All right, so Muffin's about to get the second sword off the old man. One thing we did not see from Chex yet is the King's Tomb. Perhaps we'll see that out of Muffins here with the hook shot aiding in getting super speed. Instead, we're just going to enter Hera for right now. So Chexhuman has finished out the front of the desert, has found both items. Now head over towards Landmo to get that done. And have the second crystal dungeon already finished in this run. Before even 17, or before even 20 minutes, we'll have 2 dungeons done for Chex. All right, Muffins clearing out Tower of Hera. We'll be getting that crystal shortly, as well as getting as many items as possible. Has the small key, again, for possible use of Swamp later. Chex opting to use some bombs for the Landmo fight to soften them up a little bit. Using some spins as well as sword beams to aid in the fight. Muffins has a very nice Moldorm fight. Gets it down first try without getting knocked off. And Chex finishes off Landmo shortly after. Muffins opts to go for the heart container on top of Spectacle Rock. Wanting as much safety as possible, clips down on the wrong bump and gets soft locked. Needed to be one bump higher along the ledge there for it to work. That's one of those more deceptive cases. There are a few general rules of thumb that people use for certain clips, such as when it's a very thin ledge, you only need to be on the second bump. When it's a thicker ledge, you need to be on the third bump. And if there is a south wall on the cliff you're trying to clip into, then you probably want to be on the fifth bump. But some areas buck those trends, and that happens to be one of them. Now, Chex, I believe, did a shovel dash and wound up going over the area that the shovel item is located, so he had to exit and re-enter the screen in order to dig it up properly. Because shovel dashing doesn't reveal items. So Muffins finishing up the mountain area here. Once done with Spiral Cave, we'll head directly towards the Paradox Cave. Whereas Chexhuman is heading down towards South Shore. Neither runner has checked out Hobo yet, interestingly. So that is still something we could scout out to look for some other means of getting to the Dark World. We do have that already with the Moon Pearl, but it's not the best access. We can reach Thieves Town, Skull Woods, and such without too much effort, but would be nice to find a hammer to complement those gloves. All right, so mountain area is done for Muffins. We'll see if they try to go towards the Dark World. Seems to be the case by doing a save and quit to mountain. Could have also been in a play on escape. Taking a safer but slightly slower clip to get to Hera. All right, we get a Dark World map check. We see Mire and Swamp are both pendants, as well as red crystals in, I think, Thieves Town and one other one. Since we don't have the mirror, that might become important, but as soon as we do, those red crystals don't mean anything. So with Mire and Swamp being pendants, what we need now to finish off this seed is bow, hammer, both rods, and Cane of Samaria. So still quite a bit left to this seed to explore before we're comfortable with calling it ready to go. Chex still putting off the hobo, is opting to find out what Zora has for sale for 500 rupees. Meanwhile, Muffins is clearing out the Dark World Death Mountain area. All right, Chexhuman taking those gloves towards the back of Escape to check out a few chests in there. Meanwhile, Hookshot Cave holds a fat lot of nothing. So where does Muffins decide to go from here? Looks like a quick T-Rock dip. I don't necessarily agree with this play, as there are only 2 items that you can get from here, or 2 chests that you can check. 3 if you're lucky and find the... Actually 4 if you can find the big key. Muffins being a little cautious and having to use the cape to bomb open the wall to the laser wall. Chexhuman decides to go right toward escape, which is actually a bit early, considering what they have access to right now. Typically, when you have Moon Pearl, it's common that you'll see people put off escape until about the 1 hour mark. We do find Bombos in here. That could be the way we get into Ice Palace, potentially locking a Fire Rod. But for now, we don't know if that's the case. Muffins has to be very careful here, though. Having to contend with the anti-fairies as well as the pokey. Gets it done. Still has to watch out for a couple of anti-fairies here. Keep giving them a wide berth. Well done, Muffins. So with the equipment that Muffins currently has, they'll have to use bombs to be able to utilize these switches effectively. As well as be very careful of these chomps who are hungry. Gonna make good use of the cape to make sure of the invulnerability lasting long enough. He's going to grab this last small key here. Or not. So nothing out of Turtle Rock. Where does Muffins decide to go next? All right, Chexhuman leaving an item still in Dark Cross. Perhaps he knows that it's the small key, which he can use for a later swamp dip. Or instead of trying to make a death warp happen, is just opting to save and quit and dash back to the entrance. Also reasonable. Muffins decides to go into the Dark World proper. Does a funny auto-walk thing to get off the mountain. And is checking out the bumper ledge and heading maybe towards Skull Woods, maybe towards Thieves Town. Not sure which one will be done first. Nothing useful on the bumper ledge, but getting harassed by these murder dactyls. Taking great care not to get hit. We find a boomerang in Dark Cross. And Chexhuman actually uses the small key to open up a key door. That way, if he so chooses, he can come from Hera, clip into sewers, grab the Key Rat small key, and use that for a potential swamp unlock. Although with swamp being a pendant, I'm pretty sure that that's not going to come into play. Now we finally see King's Tomb out of Chexhuman. This is the first time we've seen this location from either runner. Still have not seen Hobo. Muffins getting grabbed by a wall master while dealing with these mummies, who are particularly annoying. Really getting in Muffin's way. Looks like Chex is going to go turn in that mushroom. Muffins did do that earlier, but did opt to reset to save the mushroom for a possible fake powder usage later. We'll see if Chex decides to do the same. And rather than pushing the statue out of the way, Muffins decides to take a Death Warp, which does put them into fake Dark World, meaning that any further Dark World exploration outside of Skull Woods will require another clip off the mountain. Okay, Check's done with the Saha's Closet, opts not to go further into Eastern. Muffin's deciding whether or not to go for the big chest yet. Decides to hit these other two chests first for doing the bomb jump. Chexhuman trying to go for a hobo jump. And at hobo we find another boomerang. Alright, so there's, I believe, one more item left in Skull Woods that we cannot reach until we find the, or I guess it could be in the big chest here, but if it's not here, then it is Fire Rod locked. But it's a bow. So that does put Eastern into play, which is a green pendant, making it slightly more valuable than if it were just a normal pendant. Now, Muffin's possibly realizing that in order to remain in the Dark World, another clip off Death Mountain is going to need to happen. Either that, or Muffins might take this opportunity to go down to Sick Kid and turn in the bottle, because that was not done earlier. The bottle was gotten just a little too late for a return trip to Kakariko to make sense, but using fake worlds here is a good way of keeping track of it here. I mean, hey, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade out of it. All right, map check out of Chex. So from here, I expect to see Muffins head towards the Village of Outcasts. Without the hammer, makes dipping Thieves Town a little awkward, as that could leave an item deep into the dungeon that will be very awkward to get later. But still, with Thieves Town being a crystal dungeon, it's worthwhile to clear anyway. Chexhuman going for a Death Mountain descent over by Catfish, using a slightly different funny auto-walk thing. There usually aren't better ways of getting to the Catfish. Combining it with this Hookshot Cave and Super Bunny Cave check is pretty typical for overworld glitches and further in your glitch modes. Muffin's opting to open up all the chests surrounding surrounding the Village of Outcasts before dipping into Thieves Town, just in case there happens to be a hammer in one of these little houses. Find a flute on Pyramid Ledge. Without the hammer, or without the mirror, that's going to be a little awkward to activate for Chexhuman. Once we do find it, it might be a bit easier to utilize. Even though Chexhuman lacks... Oh, okay, so he's actually going to... Yeah, without having the hammer, he's going to go down towards this hammer bridge, but clip out of the water below the bombs shop, letting him go by Hype Cave without needing to go through the swamp portal. We don't find much in Hype Cave. In Thieves Town, We found the small key and the big key so far. Ooh, so only one item found so far that I know of. I think I missed the first chest in Thieves Town. But otherwise, there are still at least 2 other items within the dungeon, which gives just a greater chance that there is one in the big chest, meaning it is hammer-locked. Muffins having a little bit of trouble with dashing in the hellway here. Tries to use the cape, but turns a little too early. Or actually even a little too late and winds up bonking. We find ether and flippers in mire huts. The game seems to be signaling that maybe there is something in that pendant swamp that we want. Now, I didn't quite catch what the mire medallion was. Oh, okay, so finding the map up in the attic means that there for sure is an item in the big chest of Thieves Town here. Since we already found the compass in the front 4. And the dig game is taking a lot of digs to complete here. I believe that was actually the 30th dig. I think it was. So Muffin's nearly done with Thieves Town for now. Unfortunately, leaving the big chest behind. And Chexhuman following up from the south, clearing out Village of Outcasts before heading into the dungeon. Now, interestingly, the item we find on blind here is technically also hammerlocked. So if it winds up being some bit of progression, we can use that to potentially eliminate certain areas to look for the hammer. Getting a little dicey, opts to use the cape for the last couple of hits to ensure that the boss gets defeated. Oh, I'm mistaken. Yeah, I guess we already have the small key, so it wouldn't have mattered. That's right, the blinds item is only locked if the small key is within the big chest. I always forget those little rules. Now Muffins is going to clear out the south side that Chex just came from, through the Dig Game, Mire Hut, and Pipe Cave, as Chexhuman dips through Thieves Town, similarly without the hammer. Alright, so once we are done with Thieves Town, what is the next likely place for our runners to go? Possibly Eastern, armed with that bow and lamp. Maybe that's where we need to go to find our next bit of progression. Maybe it's Palace of Darkness. Unfortunately, another dungeon that we'd have to dip without the hammer. Muffin's having a little bit of trouble getting onto the right pixels for that spin speed to clip into the slope. All right, so where does Muffins decide to go? The one thing that Chexhuman has over Muffins currently is going through the majority of Escape, actually through the entirety of it, and leaving a small key behind for a possible swamp dip. But it looks like Muffins is headed over toward Palace of Darkness. As Chexhuman is nearly done with Thieves Town here. Muffin's clearing the way of the Moldorms, but they can get in the way of this bomb clip. Now, because of clipping from the Spectric Rock Cave into Palace of Darkness, the game does still think we're in a cave. And a couple of interesting things about that is that the game actually sets your keys to 255, which is a signifier to not draw the key counter, which you'll see as soon as that door is opened. We'll see a 4, which actually stands for 254. But we can go ahead and exit and reload the dungeon. Unfortunately, Muffins did not hold down upon exiting and gets stuck at the entrance of Palace of Darkness and will need to do another Spectacle Rock clip in order to enter the dungeon here. If you hold up when you're exiting Palace of Darkness, you get kicked down. But if you hold down, you get kicked up. And Palace of Darkness is one of those few entrances that you can enter without facing up. All right, so Chexhuman is going through Skull Woods now. Will not find anything here that he needs. The fire rod is elsewhere and will be unable to finish the dungeon. Kind of interesting that Muffins doesn't use the bonk setup for the bomb placement in the Spectacle Rock Cave bomb clip. Alright, so Muffins now enters Palace of Darkness normally. Almost forgets about the shooter chest on this first trip through, but doubles back to hit it. All right, having found nothing in that shooter chest, we can go further into the dungeon. Now, technically, there is a small key over on the right side of Pod, since we did not get a small key in that shooter chest. So we can use that to garner at least a little bit of information. Muffin's having a little bit of trouble wanting to hit that switch, but maybe doesn't want to hit that switch to keep the orange pegs down. Or he's going all the way around just to hit it. I guess this is a heads-up play in order to use the pegs to later on... no, but that's... I guess I am a little confused as to why Muffins was going so hard against hitting that crystal switch. Chexhuman doing an interesting variation of getting into GT by clipping up south of the bumper ledge cave and using that to go into GT here. No hammer, no Samaria means this could be a very short trip. Only one more item location to look for before we are locked out of Ganon's tower. And it's just a small key. All right, so Chexhuman, I believe, did do Sahazrula's Closet earlier. And is now just going to clip into Eastern. Meanwhile, Muffins is setting up a Death Warp. Or will just dash back to the front, not sure which. Just wants to get back to the front of the dungeon. Is going to Death Warp off these spikes. So Muffins has cleared out the entirety of the front of Palace of Darkness. Now needs to head towards the back. Still hoping to find a hammer here in order to finish the dungeon all in one go. Find red mail on the east wing of Eastern. The first of 3 items to be found there. We find the big key in the turtle chest in Palace of Darkness. Just a little bit left to the dungeon here. Okay, I believe that's all the small keys, so we are hopefully going to find something fruitful here in the Dark Maze in Palace of Darkness. Not off to the best start with that red rupee. Unfortunately, no hammer in Palace of Darkness. Haven't seen much of anything in Eastern either. Still a little bit left to the dungeon, but not much. Just the Eastern boss fight, Armos, and then possibly a green pendant. But beyond that, what is next in store for our runners here? Muffins opts to go for Escape. We'll find, I believe, Bombos here, but not really anything else. All right, so not really anything in Eastern. We still have that green pendant turn in. But really running low on available locations for the next piece of progression. Half magic is certainly not what we need here. So Eastern wound up being pretty much a dud in its entirety. Now, Muffins actually hasn't been down to the Misery Mire area. I missed what the medallion was when checked the Mire earlier, which housed both the Ether Medallion and the Flippers. So I don't know if we actually have access into that dungeon or not. Unfortunately, with the blue mail, Muffins is going to take a fair bit of time setting up this death warp. Also wants to take care not to die too early here. We'll still need to use 2 bombs to get the death warp proper. There's 1. There's 2. So Dark Cross is the last thing that Muffins can do in this area, and then we'll have to think of somewhere else to go. And actually, without the mitts from Mire Huts, Muffins doesn't know that currently Ice Palace is technically in logic. There is a clip that does require the flippers, but doesn't require the mitts. And maybe that is the place we need to go. So Chexhuman going through Palace of Darkness won't find anything of note here, unfortunately, but that does mean it's not something he has over Muffins at this time. Muffins has a Turtle Rock check. Chexhuman has a Ganon's Tower check. Chexhuman also does have that Mire Shed, but not much else is separating these runners. I guess Muffins could also do Eastern, but I don't know if that's what they want to do. So where does Muffins decide to go in the Dark World here? Is this a GT dip? Going back over towards the Turtle Rock area. Maybe heading toward Catfish? The one thing our runners could do to maybe extract a little bit more information from this seed is do a laser bridge clip. Oh, Muffins, that's too high. That's not the right clip. And gets stuck. Oh, no. That was 1 bump too high for that clip. But opening the dungeon isn't the worst play because that does allow for a possible Turtle Rock to Skullwoods map wrap later on. But even so, checking out the laser bridge might be a decent play because that can help you hone in on where the Cane of Samaria is. If there is something that can give you any sort of information in that regard. Looks like Muffins is going to try opening the dungeon again. Having a little bit of trouble clipping into the right side slope. They are a little trickier in general just because you do move at half speed compared to left side clips. It's just a quirk of the game's movement pattern, but does affect your ability to perform some of these glitches. Okay, looks like instead Muffins is going to go for a catfish check and not even bother with the... Oh, but jumps... Is this going to let us do the... Okay, we do still get a funny auto-walk thing. That seemed like a larger jump than normal. I was a little worried about a possible hardlock risk. I mean, it wouldn't have been too bad considering a recent save and quit after getting soft-locked, but still not the kind of thing you want to see. Unfortunately, Chex had already checked Catfish. We knew it was garbage. So now where does Muffins decide to go? Chexhuman, after finishing Palace of Darkness, heads toward the portal south of Link's house and uses a bomb clip to escape the hammer-locked area. Seems to be heading over toward Misery Mire. And even though we lack the Cane of Samari, it's still a decent dungeon to clear. Can give access to Swamp Palace. Albeit that's very slow regardless of what you try to do here, since we are still looking for that hammer. That flute is a bit late for Muffins. Not sure if a turn-in will happen on that. That is something that Chex did already find. I believe... I actually can't remember if he skipped it or not. Okay, here's a graveyard check from Muffins. Muffins has also not done the King's Tomb. Perhaps that's next on the radar. We find the mirror inside Misery Mire. Muffin's trying to get on a particular pixel. Doesn't get the correct one. What they're trying to do is land on the seam, or land in such a way that they can kick themselves onto the seam between the bush and the dark rock. And that allows you to lift the dark rock without the mitts, or without a glove at all, even. Which is one way of getting to the King's Tomb without the mitts. Doesn't get a good hop there, gets stuck. All right, there's the hop that Muffins was looking for. As we see, we do see the Dark Rock get picked up. Meanwhile, Chexhuman going through the rest of Mire has found one of the two items in this dungeon. Is still on the lookout for the other. Once Mire is exhausted, though, if we find nothing else in this dungeon, then perhaps Ice Palace is the next play we need to make. One that Muffins doesn't even know is on the radar due to not doing the Mire Hut earlier. And this looks like an Eastern play out of Muffins. Clearing all the way up through the green pendant, which one unfortunately net nothing. At least nothing of use for Muffins. Chexhuman running low on health. I don't think it's going to be that big of a concern, but it is something to watch out for. And it looks like we have an item on Vidi in Misery Mire. So there is something cane-locked here. Just not sure what it is. Now we get to see if Chexhuman decides to carry some of these small keys all the way from Mire into Hera and begin to unlock Swamp. Could this be the another seed with Hammer in Swamp? All right, Chexhuman needs to clear the way a little bit in order to perform this clip here, which will take him from Hera into Swamp. He's opting to go for a dash-assisted clip. Chexhuman debating whether or not to grab this small key here or to flood it. Leaves the other small key there as a way to get through parts of the dungeon a little quicker. Interestingly, mirrors out of the dungeon. So I guess he's heading back over to do another Mire Hera Swamp series of clips. I think it might have been better if he had just if he had exited the dungeon and then used his mirror to enter Swamp normally. This is a lot of extra rooms to go through. Although maybe he's thinking that because Swamp is a pendant, it's not going to be necessary to gain its prize. Although I guess entering from the front would not have been any help because the first flood room is still unflooded and would require finding the hammer in order to get past there. So he is opting to do this second series rather than maybe go from Hera or something like that. Yeah, routing into Swamp is always awkward when you lack the hammer. Muffins now done with Eastern. He's done with all three of those items. Grabs the pendant. We'll turn that in. And maybe we'll see a quick Ganon's Tower dip or something. Maybe even Ice Palace. I don't know. It's hard to say what will be the next course of action for our runners here. Oh, okay. So Chex is setting up a screen-wrapped mirror portal placement so that he can start up the Smith chain without the mitts. So he does actually need to sort of correct his camera, which he does by dashing up and down a lot. And you'll see that the mirror portal placement is right next to the library. This is similar to the Pyramid Fairy mirror portal placement. And we don't even know if this is going to be necessary for the seed, because the Smith chain does require the mitts. And we have not seen a second glove upgrade anywhere. Meanwhile, Muffins did opt to go into Ganon's tower for a quick dip. We'll find, unfortunately, no hammer or Samaria. We find a second bow on the smith, so we have silvers. At the very least, that will help with the Ganon fight at the end. It looks like Chexhuman is now trying to do a mirror wrap to gain access to the purple chest. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think he needs to mirror and go into the Outer Bat Cave in order to fix his camera. Looks like that's what he's doing. Meanwhile, Muffins is checking out the Hera basement. Which is usually something you never want to see happen. But here we are. Maybe there's something we need back there. Unfortunately, it's just some blue rupees. Meanwhile, Chex finds some bombs off the purple chest. So while we do find a second bow to make the Ganon fight easier, it's nothing else. So now where does Chexhuman decide to go? Is this a possible Ice Palace dip? He's going to use spin speed to get up on this ledge to get over to the rock. It looks like that Muffins did do a reset after opening the tile room in Hera to save the small key. Chex is going to take that mirror he found in and enter Swamp Palace. So he is not going to Ice Palace yet. We'll be going into Swamp. Has a bunch more items available, especially because he has the front areas flooded. Meanwhile, Muffins, I believe, is heading over toward the Mire area as the Mire hut has not been checked, which houses the Ether Medallion and the Flippers. And perhaps that will prompt an entry into Mire. So we saw some garbage in the front chest. That's actually one of the unique things to HMG, is that the Swamp Small Key is not guaranteed to be into that front chest, which does mean we did have to do that whole Mire to Hera to Swamp clipping sequence in order to gain access to the Swamp Dungeon proper. All right, there's our hammer inside Swamp Palace. That does open up some things, but not everything. We're still missing the Cane of Samaria and both rods for Turtle Rock. So there's still a lot of exploring left for this seed. Muffins making their way through Meyer still. Will find the mirror within the spike chest, but unfortunately there is still another item locked on Viddy. Left side swamp holding the swamp small key, and nothing else of note. There's still a few more chests left in the dungeon. We have not found the big key yet, so that is certainly within the rear. May require re-entering the dungeon if it's on Argus. All right. Even though he found the big key, Chex is opting to go for Argus first, and then we'll likely re-enter the dungeon to clear out the rest of it. I don't think we've seen the map, so he might only need to re-enter if he sees the map here. Having a little bit of trouble hitting Argus with the silver arrow. Takes 3 shots to do that. Alright, so we know that the map is within the big chest of Swamp Palace. Chex even did a quick check on his inventory to confirm that fact. We did see the small key. It was on the left side of Swamp, alongside the compass. But that is the second of the pendant dungeons completed. Up next, I believe that Chex is going to head into Ice Palace. It can be fully cleared here. And goes for the mirror wrap. Muffin's a little bit concerned about their health. He's taking it fairly safe through the last bits of this dungeon here. Still gets tagged by an anti-fairy, down to 1.5 hearts, is in a bit of danger of dying. Okay, so Muffins now is done with Misery Mire. Possibly opts to go to Hera because they did save the small key for use in Swamp. But is still going to take this mirror to go kill Lanmolas, as that has not been done yet. Down to only half a heart on Muffin's side. Meanwhile, Chex going through and doing the Ice Palace bomb jump. Only has 2 bombs here. Might get a third off the berry. Nope. So here we go. Gets the bomb jump first try. Lots of slashing and spinning against Landmolas as Chexhuman gets through the deeper sections of Ice Palace here. Farming up a few extra bombs. Muffins busting out the cape to ensure that Landmo gets killed without dying. Now our runners are tied on Crystal Dungeons. However, Chexhuman is about halfway through Ice Palace currently. And Muffins still needs to unlock Swamp to progress any further there. Muffins does get a little bit mirror bonked there. I wonder what they are going to do next. I guess this is a flute activation. Flute was obtained much earlier off of the pyramid, but Muffins hasn't had a chance to head to Kakariko to activate it. However, we do find the Cane of Samaria within Ice Palace. I guess that is the third item out of here. We're still on the lookout for both the Fire Rod and the Ice Rod. And we don't even have access, or I guess we do have access in GT to clear out most of that dungeon now. So I expect to see that from Chexhuman once Cold Stare is dead. Even though he's on red mail, Chexhuman is starting to get low on health. Only down to one puff, though, so this should not be a problem for him. Meanwhile, Muffins has dipped into Hera and is opting to go and unlock Swamp. Using the small key that they saved after going through the basement. Has to be very careful here, because if they touch the key door, they lose this small key. And also, this is going to require at least one clip here. If they decide to flood the back area rather than open swamp... God, it's still going to require 2 clips, because one needs to be done to flood the area. The other needs to be done to unlock the door. So, Muffins has to be very careful about Hera potting here. At least on this first one. If this first one they use to open up the key door, then they don't have to worry on the second trip. And it seems like that's exactly what they're going to do. So armed with hammer, Chexhuman now is going to go finish off the Palace of Darkness. That is a fully clearable dungeon, although I think all that's left is Helmasaur. Yes, we did find hammer in Swamp. Again, it was in the roundabout chest south of the big chest. So it still requires multiple dips to unlock Swamp from the front here. So now Muffins doesn't need to be so careful with the key door here. But it's going to use this second trip of going through Hera to Swamp to flood the first section, or use the first flood switch. Muffins having a little bit of trouble with this bomb clip. It is a bit tricky, and in fact, probably the worst bomb clip that is actually used in any sort of a run. I think the problem is that Muffins is getting 2-frame right input, which is screwing up the position. And this clip is giving Muffins a lot of trouble, but this clip needs to happen in order for the hammer to be found. There we go. All right, so Swamp is now flooded, and the entrance is open. We find a sword on Helmosaur, so we're up to Tempered there. That is something that Muffins will get. I guess this is going to be a third clip for Muffins. The first to make sure that the key was used, the second to flood the area, and the third to get to the entrance. And we'll probably be using the mirror there to open up the dam. Because otherwise, getting there requires a bomb clip on the overworld, which is about as precise as the Herod Swamp clip that's been done, but given the trouble there, I'm pretty sure Muffins wants to go with something that they know. Before dipping into GT, Chexhuman opts to go for the Spike Cave. Has half magic, Cane of Birna, should not be an issue. Still on the hunt for both the Fire Rod and the Ice Rod. Muffins down to 2 bombs for this bomb clip. Having a lot of trouble with it. Hopefully, he doesn't run out. He gets it. All right, finally off to the front of the dungeon to load it properly. Muffins does have the flippers. They were found alongside Ether Medallion in the Mire Hut. They also have the mirror, so they will be able to open the to go through the dam and flood it. We find our 4th sword upgrade in Ganon's Tower. Now, there's actually a lot of GT we haven't seen. There was an earlier dip for the first couple of chests, but this is the first time that we've entered it since acquiring both the hammer and the Cane of Samaria. So there's still quite a lot of things to search here in trying to find Fire and Ice Rod. Now, interestingly, there is still an item on Vitreous in Pendant Mire. So perhaps that is where one of our rods lies. We find the big key and powder in Rando Room of Ganon's Tower. So the Cane of Samaria, where was that? It was in Ice Palace. So that's not somewhere that Muffins is going to go until the hammer is found, which is south of the big chest here in Swamp. Now, Muffins actually held on to the mushroom, did turn it in, but hard reset to save scum it, so that a potential fake powder could be used, but with real powder being in GT, that's not too much of a concern. There's our ice rod in Bob's chest. Down to just fire rod to finish off this seed. All right, there's the hammer for Muffins. Still going to clear out much more of the dungeon. We're still on the lookout for 3 items on that side. Or, if this is an early bail, that actually saves Muffins some time here. Yeah, if Muffins takes that directly into Ice Palace, that's a nice time save. Provided that the fire rod is explicitly not on pedestal. Looks like Muffins isn't quite used to the mirror wrap, so is going to opt for the flippers wrap instead. A series of screen-wrapped clips that need the flippers in order to perform it properly. Or fake flippers if you can manipulate your inventory properly, but that's rather complicated. Oh no, gets stuck on a transition there. Not too big of a deal because they can just go back to Link's house, armed with that hammer, can go to the portal south of there. You find the book in Tile Room. And actually, yeah, actually getting soft locked there might have been a blessing in disguise for Muffins because that flippers wrap can have hard locks happen. And so saving that hammer is very much for the best. So since Chex is on the lookout for the fire rod, he knows that it can't be on the right side of GT, which is why we didn't see that happen. He has not dipped into Turtle Rock, although Muffins did take a dip in there earlier, checking out a few things without the Cane of Samaria. All right, Muffins gets the first screen wrap clip and is now going for the second. It's very important on the second that after you hop over the screen, you just hold down until you get to the right spot to transition to the right. All right, here we go. All right, so now Muffins will be entering Ice Palace. Danger has been avoided. And Muffins will find the Cane of Samaria here, as well as another crystal. As Chexhuman finishes up Land Mode 2, he's nearing the top of the tower. Muffin's taking it safe and using some medallions to take care of these pen gators. Getting a bunch of heals off of the hearts dropped by all those pen gators. So here we are, top of tower. What do we find in these upper chests? Mitts. A single arrow. Now, actually, the mitts don't unlock anything for Chex. He's actually done all of the mitts locked stuff, which are the Ice Palace and Smith Chain. He's done all of that already using a screen-wrapped mirror portal placement. Muffins is rather low on bombs. I am a little bit worried about their capability to get through the bomb jump. Luckily, the berries do have a bomb drop on them. So we're up to 3 to get this bomb jump done. All right, past the Ice Palace bomb jump. And now we're safe for the rest of the dungeon clear here, assuming we don't take any unnecessary deaths. All right, Chexhuman does clip out of the arena. Takes a bit of care to not transition to the right, because that would put him inside Ice Palace and not actually have Aga be killed. Does save a couple of seconds on that cutscene. But now needs to go and finish off Turtle Rock Skull Woods. Still on the lookout for that Fire Rod, though. Could be in something like Mimic Cave. There's still a lot of Turtle Rock that we haven't seen. And we've already cleared out the areas of Skull Woods that we can reach without the Fire Rod. So we know it can't be there. Alright, so Chex is placing a portal, similar to how he did for the Smiths, but instead for the Pyramid Fairy. And it's going for a West Side Breeze to get to the castle courtyard. Or are we going to see a super jump? Yes! Oh, Chex, thank you for remembering how to do that. The original super jump. Courtesy of Super Scudge. Oh, I'm so happy to see that. Alright, unfortunately no Fire Rod there. But we can still go and check out the hammer pegs. And there is also the item in the big chest of Thieves Town. I wonder if we'll see a dip into Thieves Town to check that out for the Fire Rod. There is also Mimic Cave that could house it. It's such a late hammer. There's so many of these ancillary areas that are difficult to route together. Okay, Muffins opting to go for some cape strats to help out with this cold stare fight. There is one sword on Helmasaur and the other in Ganon's tower, so... Okay, so they were nearly done with the fight. Just had to finish off the last couple of hits. Took out the cape as a fantastic safety. Okay, so Chex opts to not go into Thieves Town yet. There is still a lot of Turtle Rock to check, as well as Mimic Cave. Oh, nice. Muffins is buying some bombs and arrows, getting fully stocked on them before heading up to Ganon's tower. I like it. Could also be heading towards Palace of Darkness. Alright, so this is an item down here in the basement. This is something Muffins did already check. It was just a blue rupee. So this will give Muffins some time to catch up in clearing out Palace of Darkness. All right, so interesting. Chex decides to save and quit out of Hera there. Muffins only has to kill Helmasaur in this dungeon, so it should be fairly quick to get through. I wonder if this is a dip back into Mire for Chex here. I think it is. We did find the book, so he will be able to use that to check the Bombos tablet. Fortunately, it's nothing. All right, so yeah, Chexhuman is going straight for Vidi here. That's the only thing left in this dungeon. Then after Vidi, Chexhuman really, I guess, just has Turtle Rock and Mimic Cave left. He's checked out Spike Cave, done Catfish. I actually don't know if he checked Ether Tablet. I'm pretty sure he did. Must have been on his last trip to Hera. At least I hope it was. Muffins doing some point-blank archery into Helma's Jewel. And the boss is down, offering up a Tempered Sword in return. He'll probably be very happy to see that. All right, so that's another dungeon down for Muffins. Up next is very likely a GT play. We'll find the Ice Rod there, but no Fire Rod. All right, Vidi down for Chex. No Fire Rod. But that is the last pendant for him. He did complete Swamp in its entirety earlier. Muffins did not. However, we have not seen what the pedestal holds. So maybe this Vidi check was excessive and not necessary. Here's to hoping. And I think Chex is just rushing over there right now to find out. This might be a blind pull. Here we go. Is it the fire rod? No. Just a piece of heart. So I'm pretty sure we're down to just Turtle Rock and Mimic Cave to find this fire rod. Oh wait, there's also Thieves Town Big Chest. That must be where he's going now. Alright, so Muffin's picking up the big key in Rando Room. As well as the real powder. And we'll be shortly picking up the ice rod in Bob's chest. Meanwhile, Chexhuman has to fight through a decent amount of Thieves Town to get to the big chest. All right, there's the ice rod for Muffins. Is this going to be the fire rod for Chex? No. It must be up in Turtle Rock or Mimic Cave at this point. I don't think there's anywhere else it could possibly be. Nice little ending to that Ice Armos kill for Muffins. Didn't exactly look set up for the double kill at the end, but got it anyway. And is now going to commence the climb. And exhausting all other options, Chexhuman goes into Turtle Rock for the first time this seed. And is opting to clear it back to front. On the lookout for both that fire rod as well as the big key. Unfortunately for him, if it winds up being in the big chest or in Mimic Cave, then he will have to take other measures to get to that location. Muffin's running very low on health here. I fully expect to see a, yep, has the bombs equipped. Or are they just going to go for... Nope, doing a cape dash. Okay, yeah, this is a fairy room refill. Getting some Josh fairies. All right, onto the gauntlet for Muffins. Second room goes better than the first. So that's a heading in that top right corner and lingering there a bit. Nice positioning for those two to get hit by the spin. And Chexhuman getting closer and closer to the front. Still no sign of that fire rod. Oh man, worst case scenario for Chex here is that the fire rod is on Mimic Cave, and then the big key is in the roller room. I wonder if that's what we're going to see here. There's the map. Or did he find the fire rod? Oh no, we actually have to exit the dungeon, mirror, then open up the portal. Oh man. Yeah, still no fire rod. Muffins taking a fall from the second torch room, losing a little bit of time off of that. Very close to the top of the tower, though. And there's the fire rod in Mimic Cave. So interestingly, Chexhuman did not open up the entrance to Turtle Rock. I mean, he could still just mirror and go into the portal to do a map wrap over to Skull Woods. But I wonder which is shorter, doing the mirror and going up to the portal, or just using the Bombos Medallion while you're already up there. Wow, I can barely believe that I'm right that the big key wound up being in Roller Room with Fire Rod on Mimics, making the Laser Bridge play actually the worst for this. Nothing's having a little trouble with the Aga 2 patterns. They are a bit tricky here. Yeah, it's a nice triple at the end to finish out the fight. So now Ganon's Tower is done for Muffins. What is the next play here? The best play for Muffins would be to go right into Turtle Rock and clear it out as much as possible. Because there are a lot of little holes all over the place. Things like Viddy, Thievestown Big Chest. But it certainly will be a lot closer if Muffins goes right to Turtle Rock to start. I don't know how likely that's going to be, considering that he's already been to Turtle Rock earlier this seed. Looks like we're getting Spike Cave first. As Chex is on phase 2 of Trinix. Oh no, Muffins doesn't have quite enough health to pick up the rock and get to the chest. I think that first hook at the start of the whole spike run is what did him in. All right, here we go. Chexhuman going for the Turtle Rock Skull Woods map wrap. And he gets it. Has to take great care not to get nudged to the right as he's before he enters the dungeon here to correct his camera. All right, second time through, Muffins gets the Spike Cave item, which is just some blue rupees. All right, so where is Muffins deciding to go from here? They have the mitt, so I guess they can use the portal on the lower side here. Oh, gets Deadrock locked. I think they're actually trying to go up to the regular Turtle Rock portal. Now that Chexhuman is done with the 7th crystal, he already has GT done, so I wonder what is going to be the best way for him to get to Ganon here. Looks like he's opting to just dash out and maybe River Clip. Muffin's trying to figure out how to get to the top of the mountain to get into Turtle Rock from the front. Or at least open the dungeon. Alright, looks like Chexhuman is going for a River Clip here to try to get to Ganon. He has to take care here because if he's not careful, the screen will start to scroll down. It didn't, so he does get into the Ganon fight. If he did get that scroll, then he would wind up in Houlihan, which would take him farther away. And actually put him into real light world. But here we are onto the Ganon fight as Muffins is opening up the front of Turtle Rock. Now we know that the big key is in the roller room and that the fire rod is in Mimic Cave. So really, just these first couple of chests. Actually, Muffins can only check this very first chest here to try to find the big key or fire rod. As soon as it's not here, it's going to take him somewhere else, and I hope that he goes right for Mimic Cave. He's got the mirror equipped, and he is heading toward it. This is actually very good for Muffins. Because once he's got that fire rod, he has everything he needs to finish out the seed, and we'll be in go mode. Meanwhile, Chex is on phase 4. Taking Ganon with some silver arrows. Got the 4th one in. And Chexhuman finishes with a time of 1 hour, 54 minutes, and 52 seconds. As soon as Chex finished, Muffins did forfeit, of course, right after finding the fire rod. So this best of 3 is over. Chex is up 2-0. and we'll be moving on to the next round. Unfortunately, Muffins is dropped out of this tournament. And we'll see if we can get either one of them in for some post-game interview. GG's to the both of them. Yeah, that fire rod placement was certainly not friendly, especially when you pair it with where the hammer was, which was the room south of the big chest in Swamp, that I like to call Roundabout. That chest is very hard to get to when you don't have hammer. Or it's not very hard, but it's very tedious. But with the hammer being locked in such a place, it really does confine you from a lot of different areas of the world, like Ice Palace and leaves a bunch of other checks everywhere across the world, like Mimic Cave and Thieves Town Big Chest and Hammer Pegs, that they're all separated everywhere across. All right, we are joined by Muffins.
Hey.
GG's. That was a rough one.
Yeah, it was interesting.
And we also have Chexhuman here. GG's.
GG.
GG's checks.
So yeah, this is the second race in a row that I've commentated that had hammer in Swamp. I hope this isn't a trend.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna go there too soon. I did see that race.
Yeah,
but...
me too.
Oh well.
And then the fire rod as well. I found it. I picked it up, and then Chex's finish came through.
Yeah, it actually worked out for you a lot better because when Chex had gone for, or had finished up Ganon's Tower, he went and did a whole bunch of other things like Viddy and Thieves Town Big Chest and Hammer Pegs, just doing almost everything except for Turtle Rock and Mimic Cave. So you honed in there right away afterward. And I was actually a little surprised at that, since you did do an earlier dip into Turtle Rock, but as your second dip showed, you didn't have to check much to figure out where it was.
Yeah, and I still had Laser Bridge to check. There was a couple of items there, so... Yeah,
well, there would be items there, but you could never find the fire rod there, given where the big key was. Because you had already already checked that other stuff in Turtle Rock earlier, so you would have known that the big key was in Roller Room, and thus was fire rod locked. So
yeah.
So I think I last locationed, unless
I'm pretty sure you did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you did.
Couldn't think of anything else.
You know, excluding those dungeon checks that I think you were able to skip.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the hammer being where it was in Swamp as well, having to go back to Hera. And I remembered that I could dive her down to only do it twice after I'd already done it twice.
Yeah. But on that one, I was a little curious on that because it looked like the first time you went through, you wanted to make sure you unlocked the door. That way you wouldn't mistakenly use the small key while you're trying to Hera pot. Yeah. So I figured that was why you decided to do it in 3 trips instead of 2. Although, with the trouble that you were having with the bomb clip, it seemed like you were sweating there for a little bit.
Yeah, especially, I mean, time was ticking, right? And I know Chex is a great runner, so I was expecting any minute at some point for the finish to come through, so I was trying to pick up the pace, but didn't help too much, unfortunately.
I was more worried about your bomb count at that, because I think you were on 1 or 2 left when you finally got the last one you needed, so...
I had to go back up to get the bomb from the pot, because I was also worried.
Yeah. So unfortunately, this is the end of the run for you on this tournament. I hope you had a lot of fun, though.
I did. I had great fun. I mentioned in my previous race, this is probably the 6th or 7th HMG seed I've, finished, not quite, but close to. I'm still learning, but it's been great, and Chex is a great runner, so it's been a lot of fun. The brackets and this, and the qualifiers and this, and it'll be fun to watch the rest, and GG's to Chex, and good luck in the rest of the brackets.
Yeah. Do you think you're still going to play some HMG going forward, even without the tourney?
Oh, definitely. I love the glitch modes. 100%.
That's good to hear. It's kind of been my home for the past few years.
Yeah, thanks, Muffins. I hope you keep going as well.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, so Chex, who are you facing next in the tournament here?
Is it Pretty Wong?
Yeah, it's Purdy Wong, who got a bye thanks to the qualifiers. I think he had an amazing set of qualifiers, too. He's the number 2 seed.
Yeah, so it'll be challenging.
Yeah. So, do you guys have any other thoughts about this seed in general?
It was not my style to, go into a dungeon that I could not complete. So, it was a little exhausting, but I didn't feel like I would be crushed. Like, I didn't feel, I don't know. I lost location, so it was bad fortune, but it was also just kind of fun to go around the world and open everything. So it was fine.
Yeah, you did get to pull off the screen wrapped mirror portal placement for the Smith chain, which was kind of neat to see.
Yeah, I practiced that. Shoutouts to Brahmin Meat.
Yeah. Yeah, Brahmin Meat found a lot of stuff in terms of overworld glitches for this game. He found the laser bridge clip that doesn't require mirror. He found the mimic clip that doesn't require mirror, or mimic cave clip, I should say. And then he also found the bat cave clip.
Could you say that again?
The bat
he
cave
found the
clip.
the bat cave clip that's been around a long time.
Yeah, he's the one that found that one, and he also found the fast hobo clip. He's found a lot of interesting clips that we've really kind of accommodated and put into our various routing choices.
Yeah, exactly. I'm happy that everyone has adopted that fast hobo clip. Since we didn't really see it in the last Overworld Glitches tournament.
Yeah.
He also recently came up with a hammerless mimic cave, which has awful swim clipping. That would have been the way to go in this seed.
That would have been the way to go, maybe. I haven't bothered to learn that one yet, but I do know that it's possible.
It is self-described as a kind of clip that's very painful to one's own hands, so it's not recommended. Swim clipping is very laborious.
Swimming in general is awful.
That's true.
But anyway, that wraps it up for this round for you two guys. Again, GG's. Thanks for the races. They've been fun. And thanks to Michael K for tracking the race. And always thanks to SpeedGaming for hosting these races. It's been a lot of fun. So we will catch you all next time.